Our top story, U.S. President Donald Trump changing his story again about porn star Stormy Daniels. He now admits reimbursing his personal attorney the $130,000 paid to keep her quiet about an alleged affair. Mr. Trump said in a tweet that type of hush agreement is common with celebrities and people of wealth. All right, let's talk more about it with Peter Mathews, a political analyst and professor of political science at Cypress College. As always, Peter, thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We just heard Stormy Daniels' lawyer. This whole thing stinks, and the American people probably don't know what to think of it. Well, what do you make of Rudy Giuliani stating that the U.S. president did reimburse his lawyer, Mr. Cohen, for payments to a porn actress when the president had previously denied that?
Totally flabbergasting, because you wouldn't imagine that someone like Giuliani, who is supposed to be the person that he brings in to bring order rather than chaos, would come out and blurt this out on a TV show, which contradicts the president's statement completely. And it just created incredible confusion among the president's own legal team and caused a lot of problems and put the president in legal jeopardy possibly, too.
Right. His comments seem to blindside the White House legal team and, as well, a White House spokeswoman, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And we've been here before when one part of the president's team is saying one thing and then another thing comes from the president himself, and it leaves more citizens wondering, perhaps, where is the truth here?
I was going to use the word chaos. It's and untruth as well. And we know the president has spoken untruth many times, about 69% of the time, according to some surveys, compared to President Obama's 29% of the time, and President Bush's 40% of the time. So this is something the president already has a reputation for, is not being a straight shooter. And there's a real problem when he's facing these kinds of investigations and possible criminal charges, who knows, coming up with the Mueller investigation. So he's got to be above board, and he's not in this case, and this came across very clearly with these events of today. I would say also the campaign finance issue is extremely important, because the president did reimburse that money. He was actually not reporting an in-kind expenditure of the campaign by himself. Even though he's not limited, he could give as much money to himself as he wants for his campaign. He has to report that, and this money was not reported. And that can be it's a violation of law, actually.
Right. So Mr. Giuliani could have put this president in legal jeopardy with his comment, I suppose. You know, Giuliani was brought on, Peter, when the U.S. president was trying to beef up his legal team again after two of his lawyers quit. He's now bringing in Emmet Flood, a lawyer hired by Bill Clinton during his impeachment proceedings. What does that show as far as where the White House would think Mr. Mueller's investigation is going to go next?
I think they're getting prepared for a possible impeachment procedure, because Emmet Flood is an expert in that area. He helped to defend President Clinton and keep him from getting removed from office. And he also was involved in representing President Bush in the relationship with Congress. He had a lot of experience in the executive branch. He's known as a very tough lawyer. So the president being able to get him to come aboard so far can see it as a positive thing. But the next day that he becomes aboard, Giuliani blows it. And what kind of a team is this, even with Emmet Flood? So it should be very interesting to see how Flood can actually deliver, or would he be able to, what he needs to deliver.
Right, and we also heard Mr. Giuliani trying to discredit the Mueller investigation. It seems that is something that's floated over and over again, but then when you ask others aligned with the president, they say the president is not thinking about firing Mueller. It still kind of keeps it up in the air where this White House is in relation to supporting the work that Mr. Mueller and his team are doing.
It's a double message. One is to discredit Mueller so that it can seem that no one will believe him, and that if he does come up with some charges, that it wouldn't be credible as far as Trump is concerned. The other thing is to say, I'm going to comply with what the special counsel is asking for, because I'm, after all, a law-abiding president. I'm in the right. I haven't done anything wrong. No collusion. He keeps on repeating, no collusion, no collusion. It's just a mantra with him. It's quite amazing. And we'll have to just wait out and see that Mr. Mueller has got a lot of expert team on his side, and they've got a lot of investigation going very strongly, lots of interviews, lots of data they've collected, and I'm sure that the president's team doesn't even know what the Mueller team has on them. It might be quite shocking in the end.
Well, there are reports that some people on Capitol Hill, some Republicans, are trying to find out, perhaps, what area that Mr. Mueller might go in his interview of Mr. Trump if it comes to that. What's your reaction to that?
That's another problem. There's got to be separation of powers, Natalie, and we have that system in our Constitution, checks and balances. And the president should not be interfering with the investigation, and Congress should not be interfering with the Justice Department, trying to find out all this information about Mueller. They should let the investigation continue as it should under the special counsel's aegis. And instead of interfering, that's violating the checks and balances system and separation of powers that we have. I do not think Congress should be doing this in that way.
Peter Mathews, as always, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your thoughts.